I'm an admirer of not just your music, but your business acumen. And I love that you put the brand Tattooed Millionaire out there. I assume that it all started with a Bruce Dickinson homage right there.
A little bit, yes, sir. Yeah.
But the irony of that whole thing wasn't that song a dig at Nikki Sixx?
It wasn't about the song. It was more a double entendre kind of thing where I saw the relevance in the music world. It also applied to the business world and what I was doing. The fact that we had become very successful in the tattoo world, which really hadn't been done by too many people, and turn it into a real business, a real globalized brand. And, it wasn't necessarily meant to be, like, oh, look at me, I'm a tattooed millionaire. That's not what the intention was at all. Matter of fact, most of the book is about me failing and figuring out how to recover from the failures and to turn it around into success. So, but yeah, it does start with that term being brought into my world as a young man.
Sure. And Gray Daze is finally coming out in full, which is great. And people have been following the press releases and all that, see that it was quite a process for that to happen. But when did everything actually start with the idea of, hey, let's get this out there because it's out of print?
2016. The reason it was out of print was, when Chester went on to Linkin Park, Warner Brothers viewed it as a competitive product, and I understand the business of that, but it didn't feel good. They just basically went and erased our history, and that made me upset because we were selling, thousands of units at the time as a band that was no longer, and it just got cut off, and that really made me upset. And over time, it started to upset Chester too. He felt like he was manipulated a little bit into agreeing to that stuff. So in 2016, we had a nice conversation. We were also business partners. We were friends. We went out and had dinner together and lunch together, played basketball together. We went on vacations together. We were around each other a lot. So it wasn't uncommon for us to speak on the phone. And this specific conversation was revolving around our company, Club Tattoo. And we were talking about throwing another big Club Tattoo anniversary party. We used to throw these huge parties. I'm talking 4,000 or 5,000 people would show up to these things. And Chester and I would get up on stage with a bunch of like all-star friends, and we would play and just had a blast. We hadn't thrown one of those in several years. And we started talking about doing another one. And he said, I've been thinking about that. And for this next one, I want to put Gray Daze back together for it. It's time. And I said, okay. And we kind of worked through the logistics of that. And he said, look, man, I just miss having a rock band of my own. I miss playing with you. Let's do this. And the further those conversations got, we agreed to put it into mid to late 2017 because of his touring commitments with Linkin Park, my commitments with our business expansion. We're both very busy dudes. We wanted to make sure we could promote it and do it in the right way. And then as the thing kind of progressed and conversations kept continuing, we're like, we have enough material here to do several albums worth of stuff. We should go back and pick the best songs from those records and retrack them because we both thought they were great songs. And that's how the process started. That started in 2016. I ended up in the studio working on 3 different songs in January of 2017 with our original guitar player, Jason, and a different producer. And we were going back and forth via email to Chester while he was out on the road saying, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? We'd get on the phone. He'd play me new songs that he had written for the record on his guitar over the phone. And I'm like, oh, those are great. So there was all this energy surrounding what we were doing and excitement. But as things started moving along, we're like, these are great songs, but the instrumentation sounds a little bit dated. Maybe we should try to modernize these a little bit. And that's kind of how it started. Fast forward to July of 2017, we were supposed to start rehearsals for the band and get into the studio literally 3 days after Chester tragically took his life. So it never got to happen. And the Gray Daze project, when Chester passed away, I don't even want to say it got put on hold. It just wasn't, it was just out of our minds. We just lost one of our best friends. Our focus was on trying to make sure we could be there for the family members and the kids and just making sure we could do whatever we could to help in the situation we found ourselves in. It took me several months to realize, I think, that Chester was even gone. I don't think I came to that realization until well after his funeral. And about 6 months passed, and I woke up one day and I just turned to my wife and I said, I think I want to finish the record. I'm going to finish the record. And she said, how are you going to do that? And I said, I don't know. I really don't. I'm going to have to figure it out. But my mind was there. And so I got on a plane. I met with the band members, Kristen and Mace. I got on a plane. I flew out to LA and sat down with Talinda. She's also my friend and also my business partner. And told her, listen, this is what our intention is. Chester wanted to put this music out. We had already announced we were doing this, so it wasn't a surprise. It didn't come out of left field. She knew that he was passionate about it. He was talking to her about the project. He was showing her songs that he had written for the recording. He was going around practicing and singing all the Grey Daze songs around the house. So she was well aware of what was happening, right? And all she said to me was, look, I know your intentions with Chester have always been on the level. You've never done him wrong. You're his best friend, and I trust you. So just make sure it doesn't suck. And then I laughed, and I said, well, I mean, I'm scared to death to make this thing suck. So I want to make sure it doesn't. I promise you, I'll do everything I can to make sure it doesn't. But in all fairness, with those vocal performances that we have from Chester, there was no way it was going to suck. And I knew that going in.
Yeah. I unfortunately never had the pleasure of meeting him or interviewing him. But the one time I got to see him live was he was performing with Kings of Chaos, which was an all-star band with Matt Sorum and Billy Gibbons. And it was incredible to see Chester singing Dream Police by Cheap Trick. And then think about it, and he also had that little period with Stone Temple Pilots. And it just seemed like, another band that loved him, and I'm sure you know Julien-K. I've interviewed those guys. They were close. It seemed like just everyone loved Chester, that he spanned generations of appeal.
Yeah, and I'm very close with the guys from Julien-K. We had Ryan Shuck play on one of the tracks called In Time. Ryan, Chester, and I were like the Three Musketeers. In the little side bands I was telling you about, I did with Chester and those club tattoo parties. Ryan was a part of all that. So he and I go back, to the early 2000s, and we were very, very close. So, and he misses Chester dearly as well as Amir. But Chester had this creative genius that just didn't have one outlet. He literally wanted to do 20 different things at once, and whether that was Linkin Park, or Dead by Sunrise, or Stone Temple Pilots, or Grey Daze, or Kings of Chaos. I mean, that just thinking about all those projects he did kind of tells you that he just loved singing and loved playing with his friends. That's really what he was about. He loved it.
Right. So again, I say congratulations that you finished this. You have it coming out. You have it coming out on a wonderful record label that's going to actually get it out into the world. Is there any chance once COVID kind of subsides and people start playing live that you might try and play the songs live for a record release show? So the short answer is going to be yes, but we have to be very careful how we do this, because the whole reason we finished this record was in honor and in tribute to our friend and band member Chester. So it would feel completely disingenuous for us to get to the finish line and try to replace him. There's no way that's going to happen. I will not do it. I am not doing this to try to be famous or to get money. I don't care about any of that crap. So I really want to just finish the record with my friend. So if we do something live, we will either have guest vocalists that sing with Chester on the tracks, so that it's done in a tribute fashion, so that it's done respectfully, or we might do some like really intricate video feed stuff that we've been talking about, because there really is a demand for people to want to see this live, but at the same time, we've got to maintain the respect for Chester while we do it. So we're walking a thin line to make sure it's done in a way that makes sense, but I think you will see something happen soon. And aside from Grey Daze, is there a lot of unreleased material or photos related to Chester out there that we haven't seen as fans?
Yes, there are. There are thousands. Chester and I, like I said, we were business partners since 2003, and he passed away in 2017. So what's that, 14 years as business partners. We were band members all the way back to 1992. We were in 3 different bands together. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been released, and we're going to do it carefully and a little bit at a time, so that people can kind of absorb it a little bit at a time. And as far as material goes, there's a lot more Grey Day songs with Chester on it that we still going to go back and do more.
That's wonderful. And then you personally, is there anything else that you're working on the moment that you'd like us to put a spotlight on?
Dude, my life, literally I'm working 10 hours a day right now. So my company, Club Tattoo, takes up an enormous amount of my time. I have 130 employees, I have 6 studios in Las Vegas and Arizona. I'm a busy man. So I just wrote another book with my wife that should be coming out on Entrepreneur Press probably by the end of the year. And then, of course, I've been doing all this Grey Day stuff. So I don't have time to fit anything else in that schedule.
Right.
That's good enough for now.
Shout out to Thora for supporting and co-writing and being along for the journey. So being
more than been along, man. She's my right hand. I could not have done any of this stuff without her.
Cool. So being mindful of your time here, Sean, in closing, any last words for the kids?
Hey, just thank you so much for giving us an opportunity for you guys to hear this music. I hope that you guys find it as special and meaningful as it is meant to be from us and as meaningful as it is to us. So thank you for giving us the opportunity, and I hope you guys love the music.
Awesome. Really, congratulations yet again for getting it out, making it happen. And from what I've heard, it sounds great. So
thanks, Darren.
Look forward to seeing what you got coming up next. Thank you, Sean.
Appreciate it, brother. Take care.
You too.
Paltrocast.